Hey guys, Paul McClain here. Welcome back to the Monday Morning Mindset Podcast. It is a privilege and an honor to be with you this morning. And like I say every week, because it's the truth, my desire and goal is to bring you great value. A lot of times what that looks like is me sitting back, looking at the organization and just seeing those that are just really on a great trajectory to accomplish big things and that are doing some big things. And so today we got somebody that's going to bring you great value. Jackson, it is good to have you on, brother.
Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast, bro.
I'm excited.
Man, let's start with this just so we can kind of like give everybody some context of what you're doing. Talk about your sales, issue paid volume, how long you've been here. Go through that real quick.
Well, I started in May 2025, I think May 12th, so I'm coming up on 10 months here. And a little slower in the beginning, but last 2 months I've done over 50K in both. I'm well over 100K issued paid currently on the year.
So 2026, first 2 months, 100,000.
Yep.
What did it look like in 2025 for those other months? Like what were you issue paying collectively?
So I would say it towards September or October, I was getting up to the 40,000 paid range. But yeah, I just kind of took off after I upped my lead spend. So I know that's a big
it's like magic, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy. How that works, man. You get more families to call us and boom, volume just grows.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about like your story, dude. Like how did you kind of go back to like you're 15. What did that look like? How you got connected in the business, kind of what you were going through, and really want to unpack kind of the shift you've had mentally from that, that kind of time to like what you're now experiencing. So let's go back to like 15.
Yeah. So 15-year-old me, out on the street, walking with nothing but a duffel bag of dirty clothes. I kicked out. I was always into trouble and just in a bad place. I was a bad kid, just honestly. And I really looked at myself and I was like, this is not who I want to be. And I know this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And everyone who doubted me, it just built such a big fire under me to have a just killer work ethic. I wanted to outwork everybody. Anybody who was older than me, same age, it didn't matter. I wanted to outwork them. So that's what I did. So can't go to school because I got to pay rent and stuff like that, groceries, everything. I got to live, figure out how to live. So I moved in with one of my buddies who's a little bit older, but I moved in with him. We did landscaping during the day, and then at night I would wash dishes at a restaurant. And then that is where I met Joseph Turner. And we were cool back then, and we kind of kept in contact over the years. But from there, I needed to figure out how to graduate. I got to have a diploma. I don't want a GED. I know it's technically the same thing, but I didn't want that. I wanted so I drove to my high school. I was like, hey, I talked to my counselor. I was like, hey, like, how many credits do I need? What am I down? How am I gonna walk with the rest of my class? She was like, I told her the whole situation I was in. I can't come in. I'll do it online. What do we need to do? And she was awesome. She really helped me out with that. She set up the classes online. I took them after I was done at the restaurant, and I ended up graduating. As soon as I graduated, I drove out to Lansing, Michigan, and I started doing HVAC. So HVAC, primarily new construction. Did really good at that. I think I cleared over $100,000 doing that. And I mean, when I was 18, I was balling.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for an
doubt.
18-year-old for that time. But it was great. I learned the skill. I developed over those years. And then 2 years later, Joe hit me up to go do the doors with him. He's like, hey, what are you doing this summer? I'm like, nothing. What do you got? And he's like, come try this out with me. I did really good last year. I think you do great. And I started a lot later than everyone else. Everyone's got all this training and telling them to the manual, do this and do that. And I was like, all right, I'm already behind, but I don't care. I got this work ethic. I'm going to outwork all these other kids that, they probably living at their parents' house for the last 18 years or 20 years. So I read the manual. I think me and Chris Mumby read the most times out of everybody on Joe's team. It was like 5 or 6 times that we read it, but I did it in a 2-month span before I went out. So I was like, I'm committing to it. I'm putting 100% of my effort towards it, and I'm going to be the best at it. So did that, went out April 22nd to go knock doors. I did great. I did well over 300,000 service revenue. And what wasn't quite top 10, but, I thought I did pretty good. I thought
no doubt.
That was all right. But I think the most important part of that summer is I found out something I was good at. And, I might have been good at HVAC, but something I can actually put my work ethic in and still have great success and have a little bit of a talent factor in there. And then after that, we were going to go other places, but we decided to come and do insurance. And for anyone starting insurance, don't start the way I'm about to say, but I thought it was going to be the same thing, especially if you're coming from another sales industry, completely different. So,
well, unpack that, dude. I mean, there's a couple of you've already said some great stuff, but let's start and unpack that. Why is it different? And then also, if you're making 300,000, and then you step back into insurance, you said the start was kind of slow.
Yeah.
Like, how did that not mess you up and get you to want to just kind of retreat and go back?
So, I just have a unwavering faith and belief in myself and my tools that I have in front of me that it's going to work out. So if I'm putting 12 hours a day into anything, you put your effort into something, it's going to come back to you. So I know no matter what I'm doing, if it's insurance, if it's this or if it's that, I'm going to get what I put into it. So just moving to Chicago, putting in 12 hours a day, every single day, and it's really been like that ever since. Just constant effort, constant growth, always wanting to learn, and having unwavering belief that it's going to work out and it's going to go good for me.
I love that, dude. When you talk about like it being different than most sales, like unpack what that looks like. They're like, well, how is it different? So those that are watching that, because I think you're right. Like we've experienced it. I've had good people that have got a great background in sales that sometimes struggle more than the person that has no background in sales and that's stepping in. Like, have you identified what and why?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest differences is definitely going to be, it's because it's not in person. It's got to be, right? If you're not doing in-person sales, it's phone sales, it's a lot harder to, show your emotion with your hands or your eye contact or express your feelings to them with body language. You have to all use tone. So, and really when you have to roll an objection, I could just move them somewhere else. So if I move them here, motion creates emotion, right? So if you move them somewhere else, oh, hey, look at these bugs here. I can't, it's weight. You get so much value on what's going to happen or how this is going to create an amazing, generational wealth for their family, depending on what you're doing. If it's final expense, you don't want your family to have to deal with that on the worst day of their lives. It's a lot more emotional, but you can't emotional physically. You got to move their mind. So it's a little harder.
I think I hit something that I've not really thought about before, but you're right. If I'm selling you pest control, I'm talking about you have now, and I can show you the problem. Like, dude, look, there's a there or whatever, right? Like you said, if you're selling really anything, man, whether that's solar or something that's tangible, like it's solving a problem now. Right. And so it's presently before you. Let me give you the solution. Most people are aware that there's a problem, whether that's with their electricity bill, with the crawling down the floor, and their wife got all freaked out, and like they're like, we got to do something, whatever that might be. But here, talking about a problem that has not yet happened, and so it's really being able to cast more vision and be able to articulate deeper, better questions and get them to feel the emotion of something that hasn't happened as if it already has. Because emotion does lead to motion. So how can you paint such a vivid picture with the financial inventory, and then ask them pointed questions, and then talk about the perceived value of what's going to come when this happens, not if, and get them to realize that it absolutely is, and this is how they're going to feel when it happens and what's going to take place, and then getting them tied to this peace of mind, this peace emotion, that if you do it now, you're going to sleep better at night. Because when this does happen, and now when you say when, that triggers as if it's already happened because you've painted such a clear picture. That's different, dude. That's a sales process.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go down when you're painting that picture, but I think number one is question-based selling. You got to ask the questions. That's a psychology thing. You got to make them understand without sounding like, a jerk.
Yeah.
You got to use the right questions to get them thinking about it and make it make sense for them. And there's one thing, when I first got into sales, my grandma told me this. She's like, you're not selling anybody, you're just guiding them on something they don't know. So I love that. And I try and keep that in mind day to day. I'm really just trying to help people and guide them to show them what they need or what needs to happen in order to put their family in the best possible position.
Yeah, dude, that's such a big deal. I mean, it talks the power of language and how you see things, right? Like she just gave you a different spin on how to see it, and that spin caused you to kind of hold yourself differently, knowing like what that situation was and who you were. You were no longer a salesperson. You were just basically taking somebody on a journey that they asked to go on, and you're just trying to lead, guide, and direct them. Kind of like a doctor. When you go to a doctor's office, they're not, you don't think this guy's trying to sell me antibiotics. You're trying to like, dude, I got a sore throat. Like, this guy needs to lead, guide, and direct me and figure out what the best solution is. And you're looking for them to guide. You don't want the doctor to say, hey, so, like, do you want an antibiotic? Do you want this? You're like, no. What I want you to do is make the decision, bro, because you got a 10-year degree, and I'm just coming to you because I want some help. And when you start seeing yourself that way, well, then you start to communicate that way. You start to have the posture, the speed, the tone. Everything else that you're hoping to develop a lot of times comes once you get the framing right. I think about this game, Jackson, that it was a focus study, and they had a focus group play a game. They had another focus group play the same game. This focus group, and at the end of the game, you got to donate some of your winnings. Like, that was a part of like the kind of the experiment. Like, how much will you donate? Well, one of the games, they called it the Wall Street game. Same game, but different name. The other group, they called it the community game. Same exact game.
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, the ones that played the community game gave significantly more than the Wall Street game. It was the same game, the same thing, the same direction at the end. And what it tells you is like a one word can shift the way somebody behaves, thinks, and feels about something. And so, like, we can't undervalue certain words. It's kind of like an objection. I stopped looking at it as an objection and looked at it like they just need clarification. And this is not an objection. Objection seems like something you have to overcome, step over, this adversity. Just needing clarification just says that they lack understanding. And great news, you're the professional that can help them with understanding. So now you're not feeling like you're combating them or trying to like arm wrestle them in this objection. You're the professional, and that's just a signal to say they need clarification. Now, let me just go ahead and clarify, and then continue to help you with what you want, which is getting to the path of protection, getting the path of peace of mind. And it's a big deal. Jackson, what I want you to talk about, man, is like, you talked about being kind of like a trouble kid, right? Like doing stupid things, whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, that led maybe to like you being kicked out of the house, and now you're walking down the road with a duffel bag.
Yep.
When did stuff change where you're like, okay, I'm now moving forward, and I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to go back and get my degree. I'm going to go ahead and step in and do landscaping, and not let that just kind of solidify this path that I'm a bad kid, bad things happen, I'm out here on the streets. And because that could do that a lot different, bro. Like, ended a lot different. You could been homeless. You could end up getting on drugs. Like, who knows? It could have just gone a lot different. And a lot of times it does. But for you, all of a sudden, you take a different path. Like, can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I just realized, no one's coming to save me. I feel like everybody has that, time in their life where it's like, okay, you have to take care of yourself. No one's going to you your whole life. No one's going to be taking care of you. You have to go do it on your own. And I realized that more a lot of other things. I was like, I'll figure the rest out down the road. I just have to. I don't like that I'm on. I'm clearly not in the right spot. I mean, I'm on the side of the road. So I gotta figure what I need to do to get out of that. And I used doubt and everything that happened as fire to get there, but and proving everybody wrong and everything like that. But Really just the work ethic. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I have to outwork everybody, especially if I start slower or if I have a start. And I'm a huge believer. I'm grateful that happened to me because I wouldn't be where I am today without that. So everybody gets dealt their in life, and you choose what you do with those cards. So I might have gotten dealt a bad hand, but somebody else has a way worse hand than me. Somebody has a better hand than me. Doesn't matter what they have. I got to make it work with my hand. So no matter what happens, I'm going to make this work.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need my degree. I need skills in life. Got into construction, got that skill down. Got into sales. I'm still getting it down, but I can always.
Dude, $60K a month, bro. I think you've got it down pretty good, man. Like I think you know, dude, what you're saying is so good. Like what I hear is extreme ownership. Like, hey, I got to own where I'm at. Opposed to like, why did that happen? That shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have took place. They overreacted. This, like, which you could easily do, but nothing good comes from that. But you sound like you had this moment where it's like, I'm going to take extreme ownership for my life and where I'm at. And because now I'm starting from ownership of it, now I can do something about it. Because you can't dictate, control, move, maneuver things that you don't own. But now you have ownership. It's like, what's my next best move? And I think that's what you did. You said my next best move is my work ethic. Yeah. Like I can control my activity. And for anybody that's watching this today, wherever you're at, there's a next best move. You don't have to have the greatest hand ever. It could be the worst hand, but there's still the next best move, right? And I think that's where you got to get to, and not forecasting like, man, I got to go. I got to do so many things. There's 100 moves. There's so many things I need to do to get to here. There's such a big gap, and because they're so focused on the gap, that leads to discouragement and disappointment. And now you just are either going to be stuck with this high discouragement and disappointment that leads to justification, blaming, complaining, because now you got to try to deal with something that you don't really want to handle and hold on to. And so the ownership and the saying, what's my next best move? Well, I could go to work. I could go out there and just give everything I do 100%, outwork everybody else, and believe that if I do that, like the sowing and reaping concept, it's biblical, it's true. Like I'm going to eventually reap what I continue to sow, even if it takes a longer period of time. It's going to be necessary for me to build the character to get to the place that I can actually hold the success that I desire to hold when I get there. And I think that's such a great thing, man.
Yeah. I mean, you always have a choice. You can either feel sorry for yourself and, mope, complain, whatever it is on that, or you can change it and do something else. So
I love that, man. Well, I think that's the call to action today, guys, right? Like, hey, wherever you're at, take ownership of it. If you don't like it, well, you got to take ownership. Like, don't be this victim. Take ownership of it. And then simply ask what your next best move is. Not like your next move, just your next best one. Because once you take that next best move, you don't know what's going to come from it. You don't know if all of a sudden there's going to be a Joseph Turner that's at the same restaurant as you, and you don't know that all of a sudden you're going to get into a place where, you get a phone call a couple years later and you end up working in a sales job, and you don't know that sales job is going to be the introduction, kind of the precursor to come, and now you're going to land yourself financial services. You're making you don't know, but all you knew was like, I just got to go to work. I got to do what I got, and I love Jackson's report, man. I really love the fact of this concept of going back and saying, hey, I'm glad this happened. There's one thing to say like, hey, this happened. What's the good in it? Is there good in it? Or this had to happen? But like, I'm glad this happened because that provided these seeds that would have never been provided if it didn't happen. Me walking down the street with a duffel bag led me to take ownership that maybe I didn't take if it wasn't that extreme of a situation, that led me to a work ethic that I'm able to apply today that I had no idea back when I was landscaping, going to school and doing all these things at once, that it was going to lead to a work ethic that I've got to hold on to and I could take confidence from. I'm glad it happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that helps me now because whatever happens, I know it happened for a reason. That's one coming from my faith in God that we have this called GGU, God's got you. Yeah. So no matter what happens, I know God's got me. So if it's bad, good. It's probably happening for a reason. It's just making me a better person. All I can do is learn from it and improve.
Dude, I think if you have that right mindset, then as you go through each day, you can't have a bad day. You might have a bad moment, but dude, you can't have a bad day, because at the end of the day, you go back through with that lens on and say, okay, this didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but I'm glad it happened because God's got me.
Yep.
And so there's something good in here. Maybe that's refining my character,
Yep.
right? Maybe that's me sharpening a skill that I thought was good, but it could be better, or whatever that may be. And that leads to significantly better than what you would have had if it didn't happen in the first place. And so, man, very, very good, man. Bro, I know you got to catch a flight, dude. It's good to have you guys up here.
Yeah.
The last couple of days, man. Guys, this impacted me. It was great for me. I'm sure it was great for you. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Get this in front of somebody that might need to hear this word today that will help them make this week better than last week. And that's the goal, is every week to be that much better. So, guys, we love you. Make it a massive week. Be strong. Stay steadfast. God bless you guys. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.